All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vays. Let me just check my audio real quick. And I'm not using the. This should be better now. I forgot to turn on the microphones. And then I have to switch the microphone to it. Hey, everyone. Welcome. All right. I forgot to change the thumbnail before I tweeted it out. I am in Panama. I am in Panama City, Panama. It is absolutely awesome here. I was here about 2 months ago, maybe. I had a great time. So I am back, meet up with a bunch of people. There's going to be a bit of a meetup tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry, tomorrow's Friday, Saturday. So I'll give you guys info on that. We're going to stick to the usual format. Let's talk about the charts. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the geopolitical situation, including an energy chairman mentioning potentially accepting Bitcoin, which is very, very important. An important statement. All right, guys, let me open up your live chat and we go from there. Audio, video, good. Excellent. Okay, so where do we begin? Sorry about no video yesterday. It was a really long travel day for me yesterday. Just too busy. And the moment I got here, it was already like 8 o'clock and it was time to go out. Check out my Instagram channel if you want to see, I usually post stories on Instagram, not on Twitter. Okay, monthly chart. We are back in the triangle, guys. This is a green candle on a monthly scale. Now, the monthly scale, I'm not going to get all giddy and happy about the monthly scale unless several things occur, and none of those things have yet occurred. One of them is getting us back above the short-term moving average. That would be getting us above $50,000. The other one is flipping the MRI to have positive counts. That's going to take at least another month, right? And not even a positive 1. I want to see a positive 2 with a green star candle. Okay, so that's going to take a few months. That's a time factor. And the one that's really going to get me, all jumping and sitting and clapping like Vitalik Buterin in those funny meme videos is us getting above $60,000 because it means we're breaking out above the triangle. All right, still got a long way to go. Weekly chart. The weekly chart looks great. Today is Thursday. We are more than halfway through the week. 3 hours, 3 days, and 8 hours to go. We are in a green star candle. We are above the prior swing high close, prior swing high close. But we are still not above the intra-week swing highs, and we are not yet above the intermediate moving average. The moving averages have not yet crossed over, but it's a good sign. It's a green star candle according to the MRI. This gets me pretty bullish going into next week, but not bullish enough to jump on bullish trades on a weekly time scale. Now, what about the Consensio chart that has been flipping us all around left and right, left and right? As you can see, we are breaking 44,000. 44,500 is the top of my channel, but there was also really Bitcoin bullish news today. It's it's the worst news in the world if you hate Russians and you hate Russia. Like if you are a Russia hater, if you are a hater of the Russian people, then this is horrendous news. But if you are, politically neutral and only care about Bitcoin, which is what the first 10 minutes of this video are about, then this is great news for Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about that news right after I talk about the charts. So where does the Consensio chart put us? Well, as you can see, we are above that long-term moving average, which was going to be my requirement for a substantially large position, substantially large bullish position in Bitcoin. Now, because I didn't do a video yesterday, and yesterday Bitcoin was pretty damn bullish as well, I could not put a bullish, label, like a long trade on Bitcoin yesterday. But the daily chart, I'm going to jump to the daily chart right now. Where would the daily chart have had us going long on Bitcoin? Now, remember, keep in mind, you have a double resistance happening right now. Right here, right now is a double resistance. You have the top of the channel And you also have the declining 128-day moving average, which I believe is a very important moving average. We did get the MRI sell 2 days ago, and we did pull back in that candle, but we didn't pull back all that much. At the moment, we are up pretty big. As you can see, we're going to be up 20% or close to 20% when we reach that $44,500 area. And it's very likely we're going to get to it in the next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to get to it this week. That is very, very likely. The big question is what happens next? Are we going to be able to break out above it? Of course, as you guys know, my trading rationale is that whenever we are at the top of the channel, there's a higher probability that we will break above the channel and go higher. Whenever we're at the bottom of the channel, there's a high probability we're going to break the bottom of the channel and go lower. But, and here's an important but, it is very rare, insanely rare, that a move from the bottom of the channel breaks the top of the channel. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the high probability of trading tells me that there is a greater chance of a pullback one more time to the combination of the rising 50-period moving average and the prior swing high before, the breakout happens. Now, according to the MRI, the time to get out of your, say, bullish position was on the MRI top on March 22nd. But the time to get back in was earlier today when the pullback was proven not to be very, important or not to go very far. So the green star candle would have shown up upon the break of yesterday's swing high, which was at 43,000. So $1,000 ago was when the MRI implied to take on a bullish trade based on a daily chart scale. But you are looking at double resistance at 44,500. And because I don't have a buy label here at 43, and I'm tempted to put it hindsight here at 43, but I'm not going to do that. I'm basically just going to wait it out one more day. I'm just going to wait it out one more day. Not because of the 4-day chart, right? The 4-day chart looks very, very clean. The 4-day chart looks like we are going to break all of this. On a 4-day scale, here's the best case scenario. On a 4-day scale, the best case scenario is a clean breakout sufficiently higher than this moving average cluster, say to 49,000. Then a pullback into the moving average cluster as the moving averages are breaking, as the 9-day breaks the 30-day, not day, but 4-period candles. And then from here, the big monster breakout, because if I zoom out, you can see that I expected the big monster breakout like 6 months ago, basically 9 months ago, whatever it was. All right. I still think this is coming. It's just coming from a later point in time. Okay. So I'm going to delete these guys. So because of the daily scale, I'm not going to rush into a bullish label because I'm just tired of flip-flopping left and right. And I'd rather stay patient and be right than get flip-flopped again. All right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to let the daily chart guide us. And I will do this video tomorrow, hopefully earlier in the day. The rest of today is just work day. Lots of stuff to do. All right. Before I go on with a shorter time scale, hey guys, I am going to be speaking at Emotions Dinner Theater on Saturday. If you are in Panama City, if you are in Panama, if you are in Miami, because it's a 2-hour flight, it like maybe 2.5, right? If you are super close to Panama and you want to come down, this place is freaking awesome. Okay, they accept Bitcoin. This is where I discovered that Bitcoin wine bottle. I'm going to be hooking them up with some of that tequila. So come down 5 to 8 p.m. at Emotions Dinner Theater, and then they have a cabaret club basically right after that. And they have a Bitcoin ATM machine, huge Bitcoin supporters, great place. And I will be speaking, doing Q&A. Maybe I'll live stream it. We'll see if I bring my equipment in and they have a good Wi-Fi signal. We'll see. But shout out to JP, our gracious host and the owner of Emotions Dinner Theater. So check it out. Open bar, 2 hours for only $30. I mean, you can't beat that. Not the good tequila, but they got good stuff. They got some infused tequilas. Man, they got good sangria. The food's incredible. Such a great place. Huge shout out. You can find them on Instagram. Oh, hold on. Speaking of Instagram. I'm just going to pull myself up on Instagram. Guys, please don't get scammed on Instagram. There are so many fake me's on Instagram. It's insane. Look, I only have one account. This is my only Instagram account. There's a Vays trading account that only that used to post just like my charts and stuff. That one's not a scam because I know who runs that account. But don't ever take DMs from a fake Vays. If your friends say Tone DM'd you, no, some scammer did. Like I tried. Like I pay for graphics like this just to try to prevent people from getting scammed. I know someone got scammed for $50,000. I believe they were Australian dollars, so it's still like 35,000 US dollars. So please, please, please be careful. Yeah, if you go to my stories, yeah, this was last night at Emotions Dinner Theater. If you turn the audio on, you hear the singing. So they just got really, really cool performances. That's what it's a theater and a dinner. Really, really cool. All right, and you can follow them on Instagram. Oh, let me just do that one more time. Right there, that's their Twitter handle. All right, can I go to it? Why can't I go to it? There it is. Oh, there it is. All right. So yeah, really, really cool place. All right, Financial Summit, Dominican Republic. Come and join us. Oh, the videos. I'm uploading the individual videos to the Unconfiscatable YouTube channel. These are on my channel. Please check them out. And wow, we're still moving nicely. Short-term scale. I'll also be in Miami. From Panama, I'm going straight to Miami. I will be at Bitcoin 2022. I'm not speaking at Bitcoin 2022, but I will be around. I am speaking at Shitcoin 2022. And you can find that Twitter handle as well. I'll probably promote those like this weekend and stuff. Yeah, there's a Shitcoin 2022. It is for shitcoiners, but also people that don't get to speak at Bitcoin 2022 can get speaking gigs at Shitcoin 2022. And they wanted like someone to defend Bitcoin, and that happens to be me. All right, GBTC. And GBTC is moving nicely. The premium is not yet evaporating, but I strongly believe that it will. All right, short-term chart. Where are we here? The hourly chart is on a green star candle. It's very, very bullish. As you can see, we broke out above prior swing highs, and now we're off to the races. The 1 hour chart isn't that impressive. I'm liking this 4 hour chart. Look at that. We're approaching another set of highs, and this is important. Once we break the set of highs, we can really take off as well. But oh, there it is. 4 hour chart, MRI warning, doji reversal candle. Still has 3 hours to go though, so you never know. I would think there will be a little bit of a pullback here. I am looking for a pullback from this $44,500 area down, into that $43,000 area, or maybe even lower. Ideally, it would be lower. In a perfect world, this pullback would take us down to, well, not that much lower, 42.5. It's not that different than 43, but somewhere between 42.5 and 43 is the pullback I would like to see after touching 44.5. So in a perfect world, we touch 44.5, we fall to 42.5, and then the moment we turn from 42.5 and start breaking 43, that's a potential serious bullish trade. That is the kind of trade you wait for all year. And that's going to be when I go from 100% cash on this chart all the way to 60%, if not higher, and just ride that bull all the way up. Okay, that's basically how you make up for your bad choices down in this whipsaw range. All right, this is already going a little too long. Traditional markets, I remain bullish on oil. Very little is going to change my mind. I remain bullish on gold. Very little is going to change my mind, especially now that Russia just announced they are happy to accept gold for oil. So good luck, United States, sending in, and leveling Russia for something that was claimed Iraq did, right? Like supposedly, and I'm not sure how true that is. I don't believe it's true, but the general consensus is that United States destroyed Iraq because Saddam Hussein was going to start accepting gold for oil. I think that's not the reason they went in. I think Bush Jr. just wanted revenge for Bush Sr.'s mess up in Iraq. But anyway, in any case, we're going to talk about this right after. In that a chairman, I'm not sure if it's a state chairman or it's right here. It's I know some Twitter people translated it, but I still don't know. I don't know what Duma is. I don't know if it's a region of Russia or a company. I don't know. So it is a chairman of either like the energy czar or a chairman of a company. Like I don't really know. I can look into it. I can find out. I don't think it really matters. What matters is this is an important person in the world of energy in Russia. And the first thing he said was, you know what? Let me just finish the charts, and then I'll tell you guys what he said. Man, I have such an advantage being able to speak and understand Russian, not Ukrainian. Unfortunately, I wish I spoke Ukrainian. I never really said which of my parents was Ukrainian and which was Russian, but one of my parents kind of speaks Ukrainian a little bit. That parent left Ukraine at 16, moved to Latvia, which is now a European country, until college, until university, and then moved to Moscow, and then another city after Moscow, like when my parents got together. So yeah, my other parent is from not very populated, like another city in Russia. It's a somewhat known city, but not a very big city, and it's not all the way out like in Siberia. It's still somewhat close. I've been to that city once in my life when I was like 7 or something, or 6. Anyway, let's talk. So I am bullish on gold. I am bullish on oil. I'm bullish on all commodities. This is a very bullish look to the stock market. We do have an MRI sell coming up. We do have an MRI top coming up soon, but we are still coming off the weekly MRI buy. And this is usually a 1 to 4 week phenomenon. And then you reevaluate the situation. And for now, the stock market situation is bullish, but a lot of that does have to do with inflation. Okay, it does have to do with inflation. Okay, let me get your live chat. Anything interesting in the live chat? Any of my moderators around to send me any good question? I was gonna see if Mechanic can join me. I sent him the Zoom link. I don't see him in here. I'll have to grab my speaker if he shows up. So, okay, there's also a reason why I'm looking at the Turkish lira. It's really interesting what he said. It's really interesting what he said. So he really started, I haven't listened to the rest of it yet. Like, I don't know what the rest of the hour is. But the interesting part is that starts at 6 minutes. And you see this on Twitter. Where's Twitter? No, but that's actually a good account to follow. But him, I'll play it. Let me see how loud it is.
То есть, по сути, как только евро-доллар перестал быть для нас расчетным средством, он для нас потерял всякий интерес, превратился просто в фантики. Я об этом пресс-релиз выпустил, сказал. Поэтому в этих условиях, конечно...
Did you hear the word Fancykey? It's, listen to it again. Like, I don't know how many Russian speakers are listening to me right now, but listen to him say the word Fancykey, and then I'm going to have to explain that word.
Для нас расчетным средством, он для нас потерял всякий интерес, превратился просто в фантики. Я об этом пресс-релиз выпустил, сказал. Поэтому в этих условиях, конечно, мы поставляем реальные ресурсы. И это коснется не только газа, а газ только начала, но других ресурсов, как энергетических, так и минеральных, при торговле западными странами, значит, хотят покупать. Пусть рассчитываются либо твердой валютой, а твердой валютой у нас золото, значит, или же рассчитываются в тех...
Твердая валюта means hard money. Zolota means gold. And then I'll explain Fancykey after.
Валютах, которые нам удобны для расчетов. Это национальная валюта. Это касается, прежде всего, недружественных стран, расчетов за рубли. Что касается дружественных стран, таких как Китай, допустим, или Турция, которые не участвуют в инвестиционном давлении, то мы давно предлагаем Китаю перейти, и меры такие приняты, расчеты в национальных валютах за рубли и юани. Соответственно, с Турцией будет это лиры и рубли. В той же Сербии какая там валюта плюс рубли. То есть набор валют может быть разным. И это нормальная практика. Если будет биткоином торговать. Это нормальная практика абсолютно.
All right. Hope you guys heard that. So I don't like this headline by Disclosed TV. I love Disclosed TV. I love the account. I love the account. It's a great account. I can't believe they keep getting rejected to get a check mark validation. They're almost at 1 million subs. But they wrote Russia to accept Bitcoin as payment for energy exports. That's not exactly what he said. Okay, it's not exactly what he said. So let me just translate this entire minute. And I do see Bitcoin Mechanic has joined, but I don't know if he has the ability to speak. Anyway, he'd have to unmute, and then we'll see if we can hear.
I can speak. I can speak.
Oh,
you know what?
Right.
I'm mainly just dropping in so I can hear what you're saying about it, rather than trying to contribute.
I got it. All right, cool. Okay, so the first thing he said was, basically, he goes like this: now that the euro and the dollar has become Fancykey. Now, I did not know what Fancykey was. I listened to this like a bunch of times. And by the way, the original article is right here. It's not in my video description. I tweeted it out, but it's being censored because it's, .ru. So anything .ru is, worse than child porn right now. So you can't, open up any links with .ru. So where are we here? So I actually had to call my parents, right? And I had to play them this clip. And I needed them to explain to me what Fancykey is, because I did not know that word. I kept trying to think, what the hell can it be? What the hell can it be? And what it is, it's a bit of a Russian slang, which if I was, spend more time in Russia, I probably would have remembered, or I would have known. And it's a term used for empty candy wrappers. So basically what he says is, now that the dollar and the euro has become candy wrapper trash, and then he goes on, right? So it's like a child, like a kid would know this, okay? I mean, Fancykey doesn't mean general garbage. It specifically refers to candy wrappers. And one of these little pranks that Russian kids used to do, and I remember this when I was a little kid. I don't know if it's done in America because I wasn't a little kid in America. So what you would do is you would open the candy, because you've seen Russian candies before, right? You can open them up, and then you can wrap it back up and pretend like there's candy in there, but instead there's nothing in the wrapper. It's just empty air, okay? So that's what like Fancykey is. So it's kind of like a double meaning. One of them is it's just an empty candy wrapper, and the other one is it's more specific to a candy wrapper that pretends like there's candy in there, but in reality, it's actually empty. And the reason he says this, and you have to listen to it from 6 minutes, is he specifically says that if someone pays us in dollars and euros, they are useless to us. That's what he says. They are useless to us for 2 reasons. He says to them, the euros and dollars are useless to Russia for 2 reasons. One, they can no longer store dollars and euros in the banking system because they would get confiscated. That's problem number 1 that Bitcoin solves, of course. Problem number 2 is that their trading partners don't need dollars and euros because the United States and Europe are no longer Russia's trading partners. They're not trading partners because Russia and Europe isn't selling shit to Russia anymore. Now, Russia and Europe still needs Russian energy. The press secretary, Fancykey, completely dodged the question when she got put on the spot. Are you gonna, is America gonna stop buying Russian energy? And she kind of started fiddling with papers. At least she does it at, you know, a human speed, not a sloth speed like the president. And she's like, well, it's kind of like, hey, is America gonna stop buying Russian energy? And she's like, no. That's literally what I'm paraphrasing. She thought about it for a second, and then she's like, no, America's still gonna buy Russian energy. So a complete hypocrisy, of course, but Russia doesn't need the dollars and the euros anymore because there's nothing they can do with them. And as I explained on the other podcast with Mechanic, it's really irrelevant what your transactional currency is. What matters is the savings, the hodling. What currency are you accepting? And it's really interesting the currencies that he named. Okay. The currencies that he named were the yuan, and the next 2 are interesting. So one of them, he said Serbia. Serbia is, you know, I'm not gonna, I'm not sure how. I mean, Serbia is a Russian trading partner, and he also said Turkey. Now, Turkey is super interesting, right? Remember when I looked at the Turkish currency recently? And I also remember when I did this map and I said these would be the countries that are potentially likely to align with Russia. And there were a couple of conflicts on this map, right? I believe that's Serbia. There it is. I had it. I didn't just add it there. And that's Russia to begin with, right? So in case people don't know, that little speck is literally Russia. It's always been Russia. And well, when Russia eventually takes over Ukraine, I mean, again, the NATO is not coming, right? So Ukraine is going to be a trading partner with Russia. I mean, otherwise there'll be no Ukraine. Like I'm sorry, we've talked about this many times on this channel. And Venezuela is interesting. So the United States is on their, you know, knees right now. They're on their knees in front of Maduro, begging him to sell the United States and Europe energy, which is great considering they were sanctioning Venezuela for a decade now. I can't believe Venezuela would agree to this, but we'll find out. The other conflict here is Iran and Saudi Arabia do not like each other. They really don't like each other. Most of it has to do, well, for many reasons, but one of the reasons is Yemen. Also, Yemen has a ridiculous crisis in Yemen. I mean, it's hard to say which is worse. They're both bad, Ukraine and Yemen. But Yemen's been going on for a while, and no one is waving the Yemenis flag, right? But you may want to look into what the hell is going on in Yemen. And now with the conflict of Russia and Ukraine, like 10 million people are probably going to starve by end of year, like starve, like die, starve. Okay, like there's going to be a bit of a genocide there, but due to starvation. Okay, so you really want to look into what's going on in Yemen. He didn't mention India, which I'm very surprised. Okay, I'm very surprised he didn't mention India, but he did mention Turkey. Remember what I said about Turkey when I did this map about countries aligning with Russia. like a week ago or whenever I did this. And I said, if any country leaves NATO first and joins Russia, I think it'll be Turkey. Before Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania, these are European countries. If Putin is the dictator to, capture more land, you would assume the next country he takes is Georgia, but he hasn't. He could have taken Georgia in 2008, but he didn't. And then everyone is scared that he's going to take, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and maybe even Poland. After that, well, Moldova would be easy. And after that, maybe even Romania, right? But I don't believe that that's his plan. That's just my opinion. I don't believe that's the plan. But which country is most likely to get out of NATO and join the Russia as a strategic, economic, and military ally? And I personally believe that it's Turkey. The live chat can call me completely crazy. You guys can call me completely crazy. But I believe Turkey will eventually, unless Russia loses and breaks up into a bunch of, countries, which I believe will happen to the United States. I don't believe that's going to happen to Russia. I don't believe Russia is going to split. But I do believe the United States will split. The divide between the South and the North, the Republicans and Democrats, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, those that believe in 2 genders and those that believe in 40 genders. These divides are very serious. Those that believe in America first versus America last. These are huge divides. And I believe the United States will split into multiple countries. I don't see that from Russia, and I don't see that from China. And I don't see that from India, right? Though I don't know that much about India. And if, like I said, if any country leaves NATO, because look, Turkey is NATO, but Turkey is not Europe. And they're not letting Turkey into Europe. Ukraine had a better shot of getting into Europe, but no one really kind of wanted Ukraine in Europe, mostly because Ukraine is a very poor and a very corrupt country. And as much as the Europeans would like to import Ukrainians into their country for several reasons, let's not get into the race issue of that. But the other reason is there's a lot of Ukrainians that are pretty educated. And also, Europe is the birth rates in Europe are a disaster. Europe wants as many immigrants as they can, but Europe doesn't really want to turn Europe into a Muslim nation. But they have no choice but to import immigrants from the Middle East, mostly because that's where a lot of them are going. So they actually welcome the Ukrainian migration due to the conflict, but they don't want to bring in Ukraine into Europe because that would require, they can put Ukraine in a lot of debt by doing that, but the Ukraine will never be able to pay that debt. At least you can squeeze Greece. At least there's shit you can get out of Greece, right? United States has already raped Ukraine for all the energy stuff and a lot of the money, right? So Ukraine's already been squeezed. And now that there is massive destruction going on in Ukraine, there's almost nothing that Europe wants from Ukraine other than people. It doesn't mind the people. Europe needs to, somehow repopulate Europe, and they'd rather it be, white than an extension of Africa, right? That's basically it's basically the reality, right? So they really don't mind the Ukrainian people coming over. They don't, okay? But this is the alliances that I see. and they don't really want Turkey. Europe doesn't want Turkey. NATO wanted Turkey, right, for its military strength. Turkey has a big military strength, but I think Turkey will flip, especially when you see what the West is doing to the Turkish currency. I know they're somewhat responsible for it themselves, but there's also another rabbit hole to go down, the rabbit hole of the Leviathan gas field. And I'm going to be writing up an article and talking about all of this, okay? This might be a separate article, and a lot more needs to be done. I did listen to this video. It's in my video description. And at the end of that video sounds very, very like unrealistic to me. I would say ignore the last 5 minutes when the journalist says that she was being followed by, you know, a black car, and that her computer was remotely hacked and everything started getting deleted. Like real like spy stuff, right? Like the James Bond movie kind of stuff going on at the end of this video. I don't really buy too much into that. I think I'm not buying that. But the information of what I didn't know that much about the Leviathan gas field, and that's a rabbit hole. Basically, according to this journalist, once she started going down the rabbit hole of the Leviathan gas field next to Cyprus in the Mediterranean, like her computer got hacked, her files were being deleted. She had to like unplug the computer from the wall. She had to like use her skills of being a child of a CIA agent to elude black cars following her. So I personally don't buy into that. Like I just don't. I'm sorry. If there is black cars following you and your computer was remotely hacked and files deleted, you're probably not around to tell the story. Like that's basically my logical conclusion. If it has gotten to that level, if the government has put in the money and resources to remotely hack your computer, delete files, and follow you in unmarked black vans, where your skills of eluding a tail had to come in handy, I'm not sure you would be around to tell the story. Like, no, it's a little different than Gonzo Lira, whose life is in very serious danger, and I don't know why he's going outside and walking around. I'm not exactly sure why he's doing that. It's another channel I would strongly recommend watching. He's in the middle of Ukraine, and he's not Ukrainian. He's Chilean, who was educated in America, so speaks fluent Spanish, fluent English, doesn't speak any Russian or Ukrainian, is married to a Ukrainian, lives in Kharkov, went to Kharkov from Kiev after the war started. In today's, it's it's a war, and people call it a war in some parts of the world. People call it a military, a special military operation in other parts of the world, and I generally call it something in the middle. The reason why I don't really see it as a war is because I don't see how Ukraine is. I think that the media reports that Ukraine is significantly fighting back and hurting the Russian military with Ukrainian military. I think those reports are mostly bullshit. That's my opinion of the situation. So this is basically a one-sided military domination, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's how I see it. It's a one-sided military domination. So it's when you think of war, you actually think of both sides, having a chance to win. And I don't see it in this case. Okay, and he sees it the same way. Gonzo sees it the same way. He's giving you his thoughts and his opinions from Kiev, Ukraine, and he in his early videos, he said, "Hey, I'm a guest in Ukraine. I love Ukraine. This is why I live here. I don't live in Russia. I live in Ukraine because the Ukrainian people are softer. The Ukrainian people are nicer on average. That's the main reason why a lot of people go to Ukraine instead of Russia. But there are also, on a bell curve, there are also fat tails, which he also discusses. And I think he's a pretty smart guy, a lot of life experience, and his views on the situation basically got him in a lot of trouble with the Ukrainian military, basically. And because some of his videos were translated into Russian and posted in Russia on Russian TV. And if they find him, he'll be gone. The Russians aren't looking for him, but the Ukrainians are. So while he still makes videos, I recommend it. You can see how many of his videos I've watched, and it looks like all of them. I did watch this one. I had it downloaded. I watched it on the plane. Who is Zelensky? And it was a 2-hour video. I watched it on the plane. That's why the bar is only a few minutes in. I don't think I saw this one. I don't think I saw that one. But you can see how I watched everything else. I watched this one on my plane as well. And this one says that I've seen it, but I have not. I was watching this, then I had to get on the plane, and his stream got cut off. And I haven't finished watching it yet. So this is the part 2 I have not yet seen. So this is the part that I still need to see. Okay. I recommend it. He had another channel before this, Coach Red Pill. So this first video that got my attention was this one. It was 3 weeks ago. I want to check the exact date. The exact date was February 26th. And I believe Russia entered Ukraine on February 24th. So this was 2 days after. He was still in Kiev. And this video really caught my attention, I think, the following day. I'm surprised it has this few views. I think this was his, probably, this was the video that made him famous in this Russia-Ukraine situation. And yeah, that's still his, like, by far the biggest watched video, right? You can look at all his other videos. They are at approximately 100,000 range, between 50,000 and 100,000, between 50,000 and 150,000. But that one has almost 1 million views. So that was the video that caught everybody's attention. Okay, where was I? Oh man, any questions, guys? Any moderators in here? A lot to read through. All right, I think I had something else I wanted to cover. Oh, I wanted to cover this. Also saw on the plane, it was a little long getting here to Panama. I saw a few more videos from John Mershmeyer, pronounce his name right. So there was a video in my video description of him because, oh man, where do we begin? His most important video, I think, is this video from September 2015, where he says how and why Ukraine's going to get wrecked. Okay, he explains it all, lays it all out, played out exactly like it. And this was like a call with like 6 people, including him, from March 3rd, so 2 weeks ago, a little more than 2 weeks ago. So after the military operation had started. And there was another video where that's only 20 minutes, where it's only him speaking and not the other people. But I needed to watch the entire thing. Remember I told you on this channel that I was going to watch the entire thing because I didn't want to see him get taken out of context. And I didn't know if it was going to be a debate and the other guy was explaining to him how wrong he is. It wasn't actually a debate. There were about 5 other people here, including President Eisenhower's daughter. That's her right there. That was the president that did the speech about the dangers of the military-industrial complex. That's his daughter. She was on this Zoom call as well. And to be honest, I don't want to sound disrespectful to the other people on the call. Other than a few questions that the other experts that were on the call. Other than a few questions those experts asked to him, to John, there was really no reason for them to be there. Like they did not add much to the conversation. In fact, they made mistakes. One of the guys on this Zoom call said that Russia shut down that Malaysian airplane. He didn't say Malaysian, right? But he did say Russia shut down a passenger airplane. Like in 2015 or something, and that's false. That's incorrect. If he's talking about that Malaysia flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, that got shut down, like right near the Donbass region, it got shut down in the Ukrainian territory. And there were reports that everyone ignored, like everyone immediately jumped to the conclusion that it was the Russians that shut down that plane. And when weeks or months later, when the investigation completed, it was very clear that it was the Ukrainians that shut down that plane, not the Russians. But nobody cared because the narrative that Russians are evil and Russians did it was already there. Like it didn't matter. Like the actual investigation didn't matter. Just like when our current president became president, I said it doesn't matter. Like right after January 6th did not, help Trump stay in office. Nothing that happened after that mattered. The investigation into whether the election was legit or not, it wouldn't matter. I mean, it's Biden himself could come out and say, we cheated, and it wouldn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Like, too much time has passed. So in the case of that Malaysian flight getting shut down, it didn't matter who did it because it was already assumed that Russia did it. So the 20 minutes, and I have the video in my video description, what it doesn't have is the Q&A. And there was one interesting question. I'm not going to play the question, but I'm going to play the answer. And the answer kind of is obvious what the question was. So there's no need to play the question. But listen to what he says. And this is a very unpopular opinion. Very unpopular opinion. Give me like a thumbs up or something if the audio is good when I play this. And I'm going to play it on not too fast of speed, but a little bit faster. Let's go 1.5 on the speed. It's only 2 minutes. 1.5 on the speed because I know people watch me in 2x.
Question, and of course it follows on one of your 3 initial points, as well as Adam Dixon's comments, which have to do with the subject of rights and what's morally or legally permissible in the international system. I think that in international politics, states usually pay attention to international law and they pay attention to moral precepts as long as they're in their strategic interests. But if there's a conflict between international law and a country's strategic interests, the country will always privilege its strategic interests, and international law and human rights will be pushed off the table. This is why I think it's not very helpful to talk about rights. When you talk about whether Russia has the right to have a buffer state or Ukraine has the right to have its own foreign policy, these are concepts that, in my opinion, get you into all sorts of trouble. In the international system, might makes right. And the United States would never tolerate a situation where Canada or Mexico invited, in a legal way, China to bring military forces into Toronto or Mexico City. We have a Monroe Doctrine, which is in our strategic interest. And our Monroe Doctrine says no distant great power is allowed to put military forces in the Western Hemisphere, period, end of story. What the Russians are doing here is they're basically articulating their own version of the Monroe Doctrine. They're saying you cannot turn Ukraine into a Western bastion on our border. It has nothing to do with rights, right? It doesn't matter whether Ukraine has the right to do this or that. We're saying they can't do it. Just like we're saying Cuba can't invite the Soviets to bring military forces into the Western Hemisphere. So for me, when you talk about great power politics, rights in the final analysis just don't matter. Might makes right. And the United States is a mighty powerful country. It's a mighty powerful country on purpose. And it does whatever it thinks is in its strategic interest. And if the rights say that's okay to do, good. But if the rights are at odds with what's in our strategic interest, we do what's in our strategic interest.
But let me offer this, John. The Declaration of Independence. Now, maybe we departed from it, but it certainly spoke in terms of rights. You know, men and women, they're born with unalienable rights. And they also articulates a right and a duty to rise up and throw off a tyrannical government. Now, maybe the Declaration of Independence is quaint, but actually it's what gave birth to this nation that we're residing in right now. It may well be that as a descriptive matter, we're still living with Thucydides, the strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must. And it may well be that as a practical matter, maybe things don't change, but I don't think we should necessarily view as irrelevant, as you're saying, assigning responsibility. Maybe there's imperi delicto, and responsibility means making a moral judgment, even if the moral judgment has no immediate practical significance. Don't you think the Declaration of Independence is worth admiring and aspiring towards?
I think the Declaration of Independence is of enormous importance. I thank my lucky stars I was born in a liberal democracy, right? And I think, like you, regret the fact that liberal democracy is under threat at home. But my view, and I'm probably different than you, Bruce, in this regard, is that international politics is a different domain than domestic politics. And in international politics, the Thucydides way of thinking about the world where might makes right is what applies. I'm not in favor of going around beating up on other states, and I'm not in favor of wanton violence and so forth and so on. And I do think that what is happening in Ukraine is absolutely horrible. It makes me sick to my stomach. But on the other hand, I think it's very important to understand basic realist logic. And the reason it's important to understand realist logic is because, at least in this case, that's what informs Putin. Putin is thinking like Hitler. And Americans have a terribly difficult time putting themselves in Putin's shoes. And this is because Americans tend to think in terms of rights and in terms of American exceptionalism and all these other ideas that I think get us into trouble. I think, going back to the film clip that Ray put up there, where Putin talked about in that New York Times op-ed, the trouble America causes by thinking of itself as an exceptional nation is correct. I just don't want to think that way in IR, and I don't want to think about rights when it comes to international relations.
Ray, did you want to add your thoughts?
I just wanted to add, Ruth.
All right. So I have a lot of comments here. Okay, let me see. I know I probably need to go back and reread some comments, but Russia isn't evil. Putin is. Well, if you guys, if you put curses, YouTube is gonna block you, and then I have to manually unblock you, right? So, like, if you curse in the comments, like, don't blame me when your comments don't show up. That's not me doing it. That's YouTube doing it. Russia isn't evil. Putin is the F problem. He's deluded old Soviet dinosaur. That is factually incorrect. I'm sorry, that is just factually incorrect. Time for the new breed to take over and have Russia become a modern European nation. Again, a lot of that is factually incorrect. So, as far as, again, this could be Russian propaganda. Putin has a way higher approval rating by Russians than the United States president. So that should immediately tell you something, okay? Just because you want Russia to be a part of the European Union doesn't mean that's best for Russia, right? Like, personally, I am pretty scared of the European Union because, to me, the European Union is slowly becoming a Marxist former Soviet Union, okay? I see the European Union trending in the direction of Marxist Soviet Union. It's just going to be different, right? It's going to be different because it's now 100 years later. So it's going to be a very different Marxism life. It's going to be the life of Klaus Schwab of you will own nothing and be happy. See, Russians lived under Marxism for 70 years and owned nothing. Russians have only been able to own property for the last, 30 years or so? For the last 30 years, Russians have learned that they can own stuff again, right? Like land and property. Europeans have owned property for a long time, and Europeans are about to learn what it's like not to own property, because continental West Europe is fully on board with Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum agenda of you will own nothing and be happy. And I personally don't want to own nothing. The only thing you will be able to own in the World Economic Forum's utopia is Bitcoin, maybe. But they will be way more likely to ban Bitcoin than a place like Russia, which you can now see is using it for, potentially will start using it for energy transactions, like to buy and sell energy, okay? And Putin taking over other nations because he wants their land is a gross misconception. And that is you believing the Western propaganda, which started in 2014 after the Ukrainian revolution. That's when the rumors started that Russia wants to take over land because they took Crimea back. So it's just a complete misconception of what's actually going on. If Putin wanted to take over land, he would have done it already, right? He would have already taken Georgia, and after Ukraine, if he really wanted something, he would be basically, I don't think Putin and the Russian military respects NATO at all. And if they really wanted to, they can probably go into Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And I don't think there's going to be anything the U.S. would really do about it, other than having a nuclear war with Russia, basically. Well, like it's, I don't think I don't believe Putin wants to do that. I don't believe he wants to take over those countries. I'm sure he's not happy they joined NATO in 2004. But in 2004, there wasn't much Russia could do about it. But here in 2022, clearly they are unhappy with Ukraine's decisions. Russia criminalized Bitcoin. So Russia and China, it's very, very hard to it's hard to decipher what is law and what isn't law. I'm sure if you have the energy chairman saying that we might be accepting Bitcoin to sell energy, I highly doubt Bitcoin would be criminalized in Russia. I don't really know much about Thailand. I have no comment on Thailand. Guys, you're all welcome to unfollow me. You're also welcome to stop listening after the first 10 minutes. I mean, nothing is stopping you. Tone, Schwab is Swiss. Switzerland is not in the EU. Probably the smartest. Well, no, Swiss is in the EU. Switzerland is in the European Union. They're not in the Eurozone. Or maybe they're not in the European Union either, but they're I mean, Switzerland's done. Switzerland has absolutely no use anymore because Switzerland gave up their financial neutrality. So Switzerland might as well be in the European Union. They might as well be in the middle of America. They might as well be in the Eurozone. Like Switzerland no longer matters. Cheese and watches, that's it. And assuming they still make those, right? And it's not like made in China with a Swiss label on it. So knives, maybe Swiss knife. I mean, Switzerland is Switzerland had one really useful global reason to exist, and that was their bank secrecy, and they no longer have that. So Switzerland is totally useless. Now, I like the fact that Switzerland has probably the best democracy, one of the best democracies in the world, where people actually get to vote on shit. But that's also completely ending because Switzerland is part of Euro in one way or another. And the European government officials are not elected officials. They are chosen by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and they're unelected. And they decide on all the laws that matter. All the laws that matter in Europe are done by the unelected politicians, handpicked by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. And Switzerland is no exception to that. So Switzerland just is a completely irrelevant country on the global stage. I'm sorry. One political channel. This is pretty much it until I get banned by YouTube, I guess. Germany as well. Switzerland, Germany, if you hold Bitcoin for over a year, you don't need to pay any taxes. Okay, right, but you guys, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't say that Putin Putin wants to take over land, but he is incapable of doing so because his military isn't strong enough. While at the same time, scared shitless that Putin is going to take over all of Europe. Like, you got to pick one. You can't have it both ways. Either he can take all of Europe, but doesn't want to, or he can't take it because he doesn't have the military. So if he doesn't have the military and can't take it, why are you scared of him? Like, you have to pick one. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, it would be great. Kelly going to look, the United States right now is scared shitless of El Salvador, right? I mean, come on, look at, I mean, just, it's like the professor said, no one is capable of looking at the situation from Russia's and Putin's point of view, right? Look at it from Putin's point of view. The US just got their asses kicked in Afghanistan. Iraq doesn't respect them anymore at all. Iran doesn't respect them at all. The US is now running to Iran and Venezuela for energy. You have a president that can barely turn a sheet of paper over. You have a vice president that only giggles and speaks in like riddles. You have a country that is in a crisis trying to figure out what gender people are. And well, at the same time, if you follow libs of TikTok, the new mission of America is to somehow indoctrinate, you know, young kids into anything related to sexuality. If you're fifth grade and under, that's when all of your man, I didn't take a sex ed course until I was like a junior or a sophomore in high school. I think it was sophomore in high school when I took sex ed. Now it's like in third grade. You have the United States, which is basically slowly becoming a joke. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay. And oh, and they're scared shitless of El Salvador. Like El Salvador is going to destroy the US. So when the dollar falls, right? See, they're blaming inflation on Russia, which is insane. They're blaming inflation on Russia. But when the dollar implodes, they're going to blame it on El Salvador. El Salvador, for God's sakes. Okay? Just look at how the United States, look how weak the United States looks right now. It's just bad. And a lot of it has to do with bad policies and the bad people in charge. It is a clown world. Yeah, and what's happening is because the glory of America is ending. By the way, he had another great presentation. Where is it? Man. It was, I haven't seen this one yet. Why Leaders Lie. I haven't seen that one. I think it was this one. The False Promise of Liberal Democracies. I think it was this.
State of aggression with their own people.
Yeah. This was a great one because he explained how between like the 50s and 1990, the United States had to deal with the global superpower of Russia. So the United States couldn't go around the world spreading freedom because Russia was in the way. But for the last 30 years, from 1990 until 2020, the United States had no other superpower that could put a check on the United States bullshit. And now there are two additional superpowers that could put a check on the United States bullshit. One of them is Russia, and the other one is China. And because of that, the United States still hasn't learned that United States decisions on the global political scale, now their bullshit could be called by two additional superpowers. And the United States still hasn't learned that. So I don't know how they're learning a lesson now in Ukraine, that the bullshit that the United States does, and Europe too, United States and Europe, the bullshit that the United States and Europe do now can no longer go on without someone, calling you out on it. And Russia called the US out on it. It's very unfortunate that the Ukrainian people are dying because of these decisions. And all future geopolitical decisions by the West now need to be taken in with the account of what will Russia and China think about this decision, right? Because if future decisions by the West are done in the same way that the decisions of the early 2000s are done, we can just do whatever we want. The United States is going to be called out on its bullshit again, and more people are going to get killed. Putin is expanding Russia power, undeniable. No, it is very debatable. It is very debatable. Other than, Russia will take the Russian-speaking areas back, right? Like the Donbass region. The longer this conflict goes on, the more territory Russia is going to take. But this could have been resolved without Russia taking any territory. It's almost like spoils of war. Like when Rome used to, go and conquer another region, it would be spoils of war, right? Like, well, we lost lives taking your land. We spent time taking your land, and we're going to be compensated for our effort to go and take your land. So we're going to take a piece of your land, and we're going to take slaves as well. The spoils of war. So is Russia going to expand its territory with pieces of Ukraine? Probably. Very likely they will. Are they going to take all of Ukraine? I don't believe so. But the longer this goes on, the more they will, the bigger the pieces they will take. It's also possible that Russia could be negotiated with so that the Donbass region is actually independent and not part of Russia. But it's also possible that the people in Donbass will vote to be part of Russia instead of being independent. Because if they're independent, then they could be scared that, well, I don't think Ukraine's going to take them over again, but, somebody else could. So it depends. But, and I know Russia is taking pieces of Georgia, which I really don't like. But that's very, very different than, so like, for example, China potentially taking Hong Kong and Taiwan, and then taking Thailand, and then taking other like Indonesia. Indonesia has a lot of people. Malaysia. I don't really see it as Putin is expanding Russian power, but he's showing the world his military strength. And I know the West is playing it off like Russia's military incompetence, but if you do watch non-CNN sources on Russia's military capabilities and Russia's weapons, it's he's showing that he has weapons that won't be taken out. Let's put it that way. And remember, both countries have nukes, right? So. Europe cannot allow a third world country like Russia. Russia is not a third world country. Again, you're showing your intellect with that statement. Russia is a first world country. They're not a second world country. They're a first world country. North Korea is a second world country. Like North Korea is not a third world country. North Korea is a second world country. Your comment clearly indicates your knowledge of what a first, second, and third world countries are. You may want to, well, I was going to say use Google, but they'll probably lie to you. Hey, mechanic. Oh, shit, forgot you're still on.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Good. Any thoughts? Any questions?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, I already heard you highlight that thing we sort of went over before, which is medium of exchange versus store of value.
Right.
But I mean, nonetheless, it's significant because using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange on an international level like that, I mean, I would be so curious as to what the infrastructure looks like, how they do that. Like, what does it mean for Germany to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and buy natural gas from Russia in Bitcoin? What does that mean? What does that look like?
That's a good question. I would love to see that. And you're right. But here's the thing, right? He also mentioned that they would use Turkish lira, and Turkish lira is going through hyperinflation. So obviously, if someone is going to pay Russia in Turkish lira, they will immediately hedge it or just turn it around. They would immediately use those lira and ship them to Turkey for other goods and services. They will not spend a single day holding on to the Turkish currency due to the Turkish currency being so inflated, which, by the way, I think there is if the tone-based conspiracy theory, which I didn't actually get into, because I started talking about that Leviathan gas field, but I never finished that view. In the Leviathan gas field, if I go back to the map, sorry, and I gotta zoom in here, zoom mode. The Leviathan gas field is right under Cyprus, and all these countries that border all the countries that border the Mediterranean Sea, and plus Ukraine, are involved in that gas field. Turkey is Greece as well. Everyone that's like here, not Jordan, because they're not touching the ocean, and not Palestine because no one cares. Clearly, no one cares about Palestine. But Israel, it has the biggest hand in this, and all the other countries that had a hand in it, they're all being wrecked or have been wrecked. Greece was wrecked since the discovery of the field. Cyprus was wrecked. Greece was wrecked. Cyprus 2013, Greece 2015, Libya, when was that? 2011, 2012? I don't remember. Egypt more recently, Syria more also like when was that? 2015, 16 when it started, and Lebanon more recently. The only country they haven't wrecked yet is Turkey, but they're wrecking their currency. So basically, it's like I don't know how far this rabbit hole goes. I don't know how bad the conspiracy theory is. I'm also curious what this round country is. That's an interesting border.
That's Bahrain, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know it was a perfect circle.
That's a very artificial part of the world. Like that when we went to the Palm in Dubai, I was like, what?
But so I mean, they're kind of wrecking Turkish currency, and I don't want to be too conspiratorial here that they're wrecking Turkish currency because of that oil field, and the moment and if Turkey gives up the right to that gas field, and if Turkey gives up the rights and profit to that gas field, suddenly its currency would strengthen again. But Russia mentioning Turkey in that speech was very interesting to me because they're a NATO nation. They're a NATO nation aligned with the United States. I mean, Serbia isn't. Serbia is somewhat pro-Russia, and China is certainly not aligned with the United States. But saying the word Turkey in that speech really struck me. I mean, like, to me, them mentioning Turkey is as important as them mentioning Bitcoin. I know everyone's going to focus on Bitcoin because we're Bitcoiners, but why would he say Turkey? Considering that people were saying how Turkey was supplying military to Ukraine and Ukrainians were using Turkish drones for military strikes. It's just like those two pieces, they just don't make sense. And I do think that Russia and Turkey will eventually align as economic and military partners.
Yeah, well, I would. I haven't seen the clip you played. I tuned in just as you were playing the end of it, and then talking about the candy wrapper thing. But
it was in Russian. The clip was in Russian anyway.
It would seem to me that there's two reasons they'd mention that. First off, the Turkish lira is notoriously bad hyperinflationary currency. It has been for as long as I've been alive. It's always been a joke currency of the world. Like, there was Italian lira, then there was Turkish lira, which was even worse. And so that if you're saying that you'll take that instead of the shit show that is US dollars or euros, that's just taking a shit on the US dollar, basically, without necessarily needing any sort of deeper meaning to it. But on the other hand, I think you might have a point. If they're sort of, tipping their hat to Turkey in some way, and Turkey is geopolitically much more relevant, like it's not like they said the Australian dollar, is it? Like, they specifically said that country. So I don't know. I'd have to see the rest of it, but everything's a game play, isn't it? Everything's a play. So, you can't stop looking at it that way, even if you don't turn out to have it quite correct. I think it's the right approach. Like, basically, my approach now is treat all conspiracy theories, no matter how ridiculous, as potentially true, because a bunch of them will turn out to be true.
Yeah, it's the opposite of how we treat shitcoins.
Yeah, that's a good way of phrasing it. But yeah, I mean,
all right. Hey guys, I need to get going. I want to get some work done. It's already 1 o'clock here in Panama. Okay, so we know why Bahrain is a perfect circle, because it's really small and you wouldn't be able to click on it. Same thing, and I noticed that because I see right here, that is Malta, which would also be way too small. So that's why you have these perfect circles, probably Monaco, yep, and Andorra. Wow, okay. Yep, so that's the reason for it.
If you zoom in, it becomes the proper shape.
I don't think so. It's not that interactive of a map. It's that way for the exit zoom feature.
Did you see the members of the European Parliament ripping Trudeau a new asshole?
Remember, for what? No, I didn't see that.
Well, it's great. I'll send you it. It's two politicians saying, like, how fucking dare you come here to our parliament? You're an absolute joke of a dictator. The way you've treated your population as terrorists, it's really good, and they get a round of applause at the end.
But the European Parliament matters about as much as the Canadian Parliament. They're basically just there to yap. They don't actually do anything, right? Because Europe is run by unelected officials. and the parliament members are actually elected, and they're totally useless.
No, I don't get me wrong. I of course agree, but it was still good to see Trudeau stand up there while people rip him apart.
Yeah, but that was happening in his own parliament, and he doesn't care because he takes his authority from a higher order, right? Like, he doesn't care. Like, he'll stand there and he'll take whatever abuse, you know, like it's completely irrelevant to him, right? Like, because he's operating on a different brain length of Marxism. So it doesn't matter how many people die because he's there for the greater good.
I look, man, of course I agree when it comes to effectiveness, but sometimes someone gives a speech where the hairs on your neck stand on end and you're like, holy shit, that was good. So I'll send you it anyway. You should see it.
Yeah, send it to me. Yeah, someone is asking, what is R star 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 A? It's a word where I can't write in my title of my video because it'll probably get banned. It's the new most evil word in the world. I happen to be born there.
R star. Okay, all right. I've just figured out what that word is.
All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Oh yeah, great news for Bitcoin.
Yeah, what was for lazy people that just got here, basically me, what's the TA?
Oh, the TA, we're very bullish. We're bullish, but we're about to hit resistance. That's the problem. But I don't think we're gonna go down anymore. Like, I'm pretty bullish here. Maybe 44.5, then 42.5, and then 100.
All right, I'd love this. My life would really appreciate a bull market right now. All the citadel builders, like all of the people trying to, think beyond Bitcoin, that are trying to say we need to secure food, fertilizer, cattle, water, cars that don't have any electronic components, all this stuff. Those people are they're Bitcoiners and they have the right mentality, but they know that money by itself is not. Okay.
Oh, I gotta grab the door. 1 second. Keep talking.
All right. I'm gonna try and pull up the YouTube chat, guys, so I can see what you're saying.
Looks like I'm just hearing things. It's all good.
Have any electronic? All right. Yeah, I'm just looking at the YouTube chat. Canada's doing really well at managing their economy. Yeah. No, I was saying, all these people that are trying to plan for stuff beyond just money, right? I like the way Untap put it, where he said money is a call option on someone else having solved your problem in the future, and that's not that much of a good bet anymore. And ultimately, that's a funny way of saying, if no one's going to make stuff, you're going to have to make stuff yourself. It doesn't matter how much money you have if nothing else has been manufactured. So I'm just saying, there's all these, we know so many citadel builders, me and Tone, we visited a few of them, and it would be great if Bitcoin would rally a lot over the next year or two, so we could get all these projects really, really up and running, because time is, we're running out of time here. Things are falling apart rapidly. America has basically fallen off a cliff as far as I can tell. So yeah, we've basically got, this winter might be rough, but by winter 2023, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like, oh, I'll just nip down to the store and buy a bunch of steak, it'll be fine. Like, I don't think that's going to be viable for more than another year and a half.
Yeah, I posted that. I posted your European Parliament link to Trudeau in the group chat.
Nice.
All right, guys. Time to get going. This was probably about a good hour or more. When did I start? 12:45. Oh wow, it's been over an hour. All right, I need to get some work done. And thank you all for watching. And hopefully, this military conflict will end soon, and lives will be spared. But in order for that to happen, people will have to agree on some stuff, and man, I really hope it does, but we'll find out soon. All right, guys. Am I
See ya,
still on
everyone.
screen share? I'm still on screen share. All right. Everyone gets to see your beard. Hopefully, I'll see you soon, man. I
Yeah.
gotta swing by where you are. I'm not sure if you're gonna make it to Miami or not.
No, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there for sure, man. Where I am now, I think Cancun actually. Cancun to Miami is $89, I think. Direct.
Wow,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Anything that means I don't have to connect in Mexico City is
Yeah.
just like the greatest news I've ever had in my. I don't think I've ever been to a more annoying airport.
Oh no, I hate. Didn't I warn you about the Mexico City airport? It's one of my most hated airports. You can get good tequila there, but I can't stand that airport. It took me like 45 minutes once to get out because I couldn't find like the baggage claim area. I don't even have checked baggage, but you have to find the baggage claim area to get out of the airport. I couldn't find it. Like it's like a little tiny door with like stairs. It's insane.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it's just huge and really, really, really poor condition.
Also, speaking of stupid airports, the Salt Lake City airport, the airport at Salt Lake City, whoever expanded that airport into Terminal B needs to be fired from ever even building a sandcastle ever again. That's my new most hated airport besides Mexico City.
I got a better one, man. It's in Berlin. It's like only does tiny little short haul European flights. And so you walk in, it's gate, you go through security, and then as you come out of security, there'll just be someone sitting on the floor in like underneath some clothes that are for sale, like Toblerones and clothes and stuff, like in the store. And the store is the gate. And everyone just sits on the floor in the store. There's no seats anywhere. It's just like, I remember walking through the store and being like, well, it's weird. Everyone's sitting on the floor next to chocolate bars. Like, and then I'm like, oh, it's the gate. I don't know. It was the weirdest. Like, it's like someone's living room.
Yeah, no, I've also been to in Berlin, I think. I also went to an airport in Berlin, and it looked like it was from like 1975 Soviet era. Like it might have been the same one you're talking about. It was just like, I don't remember any seats. Like I was flying from Berlin to Iceland, I think. It was like this little tiny airport in Berlin, and it was like, I'm like, wow, am I back in like Soviet Russia, basically?
Yeah. Well, are we still streaming or are we just chatting now?
No, we're still streaming.